Thank you all so much for having me here. I know a few of you have seen this once and some have actually seen it twice, so thanks again for listening to my presentation. There are some updates on this from those of you that did see this, I think back in the spring possibly, from my colleague Terry out of Tompkins County. But there's some updates on the grants that are currently available still, and kind of looking at this maybe more from a perspective of Chenango County and what would work for the county if you wanted to move forward. So for those of you that don't know about the program, it's a NYSERDA program. My position is funded by NYSERDA through, I'm working out of Delaware Extension. I am working with Ken Smith over at Chenango Extension as well, because I'm responsible for these two counties and just making sure everyone's aware of this program and the money that's available. Each county in the state has somebody responsible for it, so that everyone is equally available, able to see these opportunities. It's available for counties, cities, towns, and villages. So you'll see the grant breakdown in a second of what that means. This is an updated map as of last Friday of all of the communities throughout the state that are designated or are working towards designation. There's quite a few now in Delaware County that I've got to sign on. The dark blue means that they're actually designated. Light blue means that they're working towards it. As you can see, we haven't quite gotten anybody in Chenango County yet to move forward, but I'd love to see that happen, particularly the county, because there are some large grants available still for larger communities in the southern tier, and I don't see anyone jumping on them yet, so I'd like to see either Delaware or Chenango go for those. This is myself and my colleague Terry out of Tompkins, who are just working on the southern tier as far as getting these grant opportunities available. And what we do is not only let you know about the information, but actually help municipalities move toward this, so we can kind of do some of the work for you, help you, do some benchmarking, figure out your building energy use, get together some resolutions, things like that. So NYSERDA is funding that as well. YCEC, it's an opportunity for funding. It's unmatched grants. You can be recognized as leaders if that's of interest to you. And then it's obviously one of the governor's initiatives to kind of move clean energy forward in the state. So how to become a clean energy community, you have to do 4 out of 10 high action impact items. There's quite a few that are very easy. There's some that are more difficult. I think there's a few that I would recommend to Chenango if you were interested in moving forward that are very easy, that could be done pretty quickly. Once you're designated, is what NYSERDA calls it, you're eligible to receive the grants, which is a separate application process, but also something I'm willing to help with as much as you would like. So the grant funding, which is why most municipalities are interested in doing this, they're based on your REDC, your Regional Economic Development Council. There were available for each of these REDCs 4 large grants and 14 small grants. Our region is obviously the southern tier. Most of you are probably familiar with the counties involved in that. And as far as what's left right now, for the large grants, which would be the county itself, there are 2 grants left of $150,000. The 2 first tier grants for $250,000 both went to Tompkins County and the city of Ithaca. As I've heard right now, there is nobody else in the southern tier that's pursuing these 2 other large grants. Delaware County is starting to talk about it. The other part of the southern tier, Broome County was talking about it, but they haven't really started to move forward. So the chances of the county getting it if they were to move forward are pretty strong right now. And then for your own communities, the small medium grants available, there's still 9 grants available of $50,000, which, as I mentioned, these are not unmatched grants, and they have to be used for a clean energy project. So that's the next part of this. Clean energy basically means, a heating system upgrade. You could do solar if that's of interest to you. Basically any way that you can spin it to NYSERDA that you're interested in saving energy. And there's been quite a few projects throughout the state that are unique that have gotten approved. LED upgrades for your lights, for your buildings, for street lights. These are all things that NYSERDA has approved. So And they're defining it by actions that reduce greenhouse gas emissions, but there's plenty of ways to kind of make that case. This is just a little overview of the selection criteria that they're looking for. As I mentioned, this is all something I could help the county or any of the towns or villages with if they got to this point. They're looking for leveraging public-private dollars, direct impact on energy use, is it within a 3-year period? So there's a few things that they're looking at. These are just some example projects. NYSERDA doesn't want us to give the communities that are doing these projects because they want everyone to, kind of think of their own, but just to get an example of some things that have been approved by NYSERDA. LED replacements, new solar arrays, replacing old wastewater treatment pumps, old windows, HVAC systems, EV charging stations, things like that. And some potential ideas for Chenango County that have been discussed or that have been brought to my attention, some needs, possibly the Preston Manor Nursing Home, county office building itself, maybe the roof, the window replacements, things like that, that could all be used, this money could all be used for. So as far as the high impact action items and how the county can actually get designated, there's 10 of them. I've actually kind of reordered them in a way that makes sense to me as far as what the county would possibly want to pursue as far as getting this done quickly and easily, and what I would say are some of the top action items that are very good to do. Benchmarking. I honestly haven't worked with a community yet that hasn't done this one, and I don't think any in the state that have gotten designated have not. It's a pretty easy action item. Basically what you're doing is you're benchmarking energy use for municipal buildings over 1,000 square feet, which is probably quite a few buildings in Chenango County. You're using what's called EPA's Energy Star Portfolio Manager, which helps you track this. I have done this for other communities. Basically all I do is import the data and then show you how to import it going forward. What would be needed from the county is the passing of a resolution to support this. The second next easiest, I don't know if they have to go in any order, but Unified Solar Permit. If you haven't heard of this, basically it's an easy way to encourage residents to install solar. The benefit is basically to have a templated application. You could always create your own permits for solar applications, but the state has found that many municipalities don't necessarily want to take the time to do that, so they're offering up this template resolution that actually quite a few municipalities have passed. So to do this one, you'd just be passing this resolution basically. Energy code enforcement training. This is applicable to all communities that issue building permits, which is the county, as I do understand. Basically, you're sending your code enforcement officer to a free training. And you're not actually even sending him. The training company, which is called TY Lin, is actually coming to them. They'll come to them, they'll review a few site building permits, they'll do a few site visits with them, and then they'll give them a certificate that says you know the latest and greatest with the energy code. So those are the top 3 that I think are the easiest. From there's a few others that the county could pursue, and it really just depends on what your thoughts are as far as what makes sense. Solarize I put next because there is a campaign going on currently, a Solarize campaign in the county. I did talk to the people that are managing this campaign, and there is a way for the county to get on board with this campaign and show support moving forward. There actually are quite a few. Basically, the thing with this is after the campaign's completed, you have to have 10 installations, so 10 residential installations of solar. There's actually almost 10 right now in the county. So basically, to support this campaign, the county would probably want to pass a resolution, send out a press release, maybe hold one of the campaign stops or events, which is like an educational event at a county building or something like that. They've actually been going around quite frequently around the county for the last 6 months and just letting people know about solar opportunities in New York State. Another one is Energize New York Finance. I'm sure you've heard of PACE or Energize New York. This is something where if you want more information, I can certainly put you in touch with someone that can get you a lot more information than I can about this. And basically, it's just another way to help finance energy projects. It benefits a lot of businesses as well, and homeowners. And this is just a map of some of the communities in the state that have started to move forward with this. This is actually updated as of last week as well. So you can see, it looks like there was a point that Chenango was in discussion with. Joe DeSandanco, I think is his name. I always forget how to pronounce his last name. But he's the one that has the most information from Energize New York. And there are quite a few counties and communities around that are moving forward with this. Broome is the closest county to you that has passed this recently. So there's some great examples of people that have kind of asked all the questions that a lot of people are asking about this. So the county wouldn't have to dive too far into figuring it all out. Clean energy upgrades. What you're looking at here is a 10% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions in one of your buildings. That seems pretty unachievable, but it's actually very achievable. One of the towns I'm working with in Delaware County just upgraded the LEDs in their buildings and they saved 300% on greenhouse gas emissions. So it's very easy to do by just doing a few small things. So this could be an action item that you could look at as well. Clean fleets, you're looking at EV charging stations or alternative fuel vehicles. It's one or the other. You would have to do 2 level 2 charging stations at some county facility or building or somewhere where you'd want to, encourage people to start using EV cars or employ an alternative fuel vehicle for the county. And there's some good grants and stuff available out there for this, so if you're interested in pursuing, the cost is very low right now. LED streetlights. I'm not sure how many the county manages, but this is something that a lot of New York State communities are moving forward with, mainly for the cost savings. The studies have showed that most communities that do this are seeing about a 70% reduction in their lighting bills from doing this. I believe most of this is in NYSEG territory. There might be one national grid area up in the far northwest corner of the county, but NYSEG has not released the option to request the buyouts yet. The only thing that you can do, they have not released the option to continue to lease the streetlights, but to request LED upgrades and what that would cost. December 1st is the day that they said that they will do that. Currently, the option for the county is to do a buyout, which would mean you purchase all of the streetlights and upgrade them yourself, and would be responsible for that going forward, but would no longer pay a lease. So it's a new thing. Climate Smart Community Certification. This is a DEC program. It's a separate kind of certification process. It's good, it's challenging, it's a little bit more difficult, which is why I put it at the end of the list, but let me know if you've got any questions about this. And that's the end of my list. Chenango County, so that, like I said, the 4 that I would recommend would be the benchmarking, the unified solar permit, the energy code training, and the possible 4th maybe solarize or PACE financing. PACE financing would take a little bit longer depending on the county's desire to do it, so I would say maybe solarize could be a good option for you because there's already a campaign in place, which could really get you guys designated very quickly and eligible for that $150,000. So the next steps, if interested, would be to find a main contact for this, help me kind of find someone to work with, discuss what actions have been accomplished and what would be interesting in pursuing. Obviously finding documentation and then really thinking about what you'd want to use that $150,000 for, and is there some project that could really benefit from that energy money. I think if you think hard enough, I'm sure you can think of something that you can use that for, because like I said, there's no match on that. So, and then there's my contact information. So that's pretty much it. Does anyone have any questions for me?
That's good presentation, Tara.
Yeah.
Now, what kit services that, I know that, I'm not sure, is, have we upgraded our buildings here at the county to LED or anything like that? These lights
We're already
are
in
all.
process, we've been doing it for.
Okay, but these LED, things like that?
This building will be the next one, the 91 wing is the first easiest one to do.
Do we get nicer? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we also got money back on the new children. I did paperwork on that.
Yeah, this is a great program, and now is it open to residents as well, or to businesses as well?
This particular program is just open to municipalities. This climate or clean energy communities is what they're calling it. But you know, as you probably know, NYSERDA does have quite a few other programs for residents and things like that.
Would the city of Norwich be?
Yes, the city is.
You would be the kind of head for them.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So if the city is interested in moving forward, that's another. And like I said,
have you had discussions with the city?
I have not yet, no. So if that's something you'd like me to give some more information on. Like I said, there's still 9 grants available for $50,000, and I think I was saying Tompkins is the one that's been eating up most of these grants, but I think they've reached the point of where they're saturated maybe out there or slowing down. So my mission now is to make sure that the rest of the southern tier gets the rest of these grants.
What is your phone number? Because I had terrible eyesight.
Yes. My phone number and extension is 607-865-6531.
Thank you.
Further questions for Tara?
Is there is there a business counterpart program to this? I mean, we're offering this to municipalities, so it must be effective in its goals. So
Yeah, it's
what are we giving businesses in terms of?
right. So they're actually small businesses are eligible for some of these parts of this. The unified solar permit is applicable to small businesses. You know, you're looking at PACE financing could be applicable to small businesses. Basically, the way that the solar permit works is under 25 kilowatts, which is most small businesses. You're going to be looking at that. There actually is a small business program that we just got funded for, and I'll actually be working in Chenango County on that as well. So we haven't quite finished that and signed the contracts and everything, but I hope to have more information about that soon. And that's similarly a NYSERDA program, but separate from this. So
If that could be brought to the planning, right now the Planning and Economic Development Committee.
yes,
That'd be
absolutely,
very helpful.
absolutely. Yeah.
I said ag, but I didn't think it was official.
Whatever the name is.
Mr. Chenango?
What's the timeline for application?
For this program, so the grants are available until September of 2019 or until they run out. I will say they're going to run out before then. The Southern Tier and the North Country, I think, are the only 2 economic development councils that have not run out of grants yet. So there's a few left, but you can see if it starts to roll, they'll be gone soon. So.
Yeah, just a question on the code energy enforcement training. What are we enforcing? Is it a new code which somebody's gonna come in and say you can't have that
Nope,
furnace anymore or something?
Nope, it's just the New York State Energy Code, which they update every 3 years. And it's just kind of making sure that code enforcement officers are kind of up to date on what's the latest with that. It's, you know, from the code enforcement officers that I've seen going through it, it's not invasive. No one's there to tell you you're doing this wrong. It's just kind of an additional free training to make sure that they're aware of, you know, things that they need to be aware of.
I guess my question was training them to enforce what?
The energy code, New York State Energy Code. So making sure, you know, the windows are proper, the R values are correct, things like that, that sometimes they may not be, you know, looking at all the time or, you know, just thinking about in depth, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Tara? If not, we certainly thank you for your
Yes.
presentation and
Yeah.
and your information.
Yep, thank you very much, I appreciate it.